Let's Talk began as a way for KREM 2 to open the door to people in our community to share their stories about what it's like being a minority in the Inland Northwest.
The result was real, raw, and honest talks with those impacted with the day-to-day struggle of a lack of diversity.
You know, I made the conscious decision to just be my true, authentic self.
And sharing our stories with the community.
I am the physical embodiment of their struggles, which is a weight to carry, but I'm honored to carry that weight.
So for the next half hour, let's listen, learn, and most importantly,
let's talk.
Thanks for joining us for this KREM 2 special, Let's Talk. I'm Tim Pham.
And I'm Channing Curtis. Now, for the past few months, we've been sharing personal stories of people here in the Inland Northwest through our Let's Talk series. The goal is to listen to other people's experiences and learn from them.
And today we are hearing parts of powerful emotional perspectives as a way to learn and understand each other.
So I started this passion project back in February as a way to feature Black voices in our community during Black History Month. And I started it by sharing some of my experiences of living here in Spokane.
When I first moved here, me and two of my girlfriends were out somewhere getting ready to go what we thought was go have a good night. And we weren't allowed in this place because they said they were full for the evening. But they had plenty of tables and they let in the group right behind us that didn't have a reservation or anything. So yeah, that one was a real good wake-up call, for Spokane at least. Even just a couple of weeks ago, I was out in a bar area and the group that I was with, they were all ordering drinks and I think I ordered like a Coke or something like that. And bartender immediately cards me. And I was like, well, why are you carding me? I'm not getting a drink. And they were like, oh, well, you have to be 21 to sit in the bar area. I was like, no, I get that, but why aren't you asking them for their ID? Everybody else I was with was white, the only Black person. So I'm like, you get offended by that, but then it's also weird too because you get offended by it, but then trying to explain to your white counterparts why that's offensive is also a hard thing. I'm like, no, he's singling me out because I'm the Black person. Not only am I the Black person in this group, I'm the Black person in this room. I'm probably the Black person on this block.
So from there, I decided to open things up to other people in our area and allow them to share their stories as well.
So for the next half hour, let's listen, learn, and engage.
Hi, my name is LYNN Evers and I'm a concert pianist. Let's talk. I was born and raised in Ipoh, Malaysia, and I have 3 kids with me, a boy and 2 girls. I was a single mom back in Malaysia for 8 years, and life was a little bit, tough there. And after my divorce, I met my husband, who's an American. So he brought me and my 3 kids here to America. On the day I decided to leave Malaysia, I only have 2 luggage, big luggage, and 3 kids with me. When I first moved here 12 years ago, that time my kids were still school. I have 3 school-going kids. The challenges that they met was like their language, because they have the accent, but now they don't have any accents anymore. Their appearance, they will tease at. Yeah, so it was a little bit difficult for them, but I explained to them, I said it is fine, you just have to be you.
To me, what it means to be a Black man is to be proud, to be strong and know what real strength means. Knowing that when there's a time to be vulnerable, there's a time to speak up, and there's a time to step back and allow other people to lead also. My name is JERRALL HAYNES. I'm the Civil Rights Officer for the city of Spokane. Let's talk. When I first came to Spokane, my first impression about how it was different from where I grew up was, one, I moved here in the wintertime, so there was snow on the ground, it started snowing, and so I absolutely hated it. And the lack of diversity was an immediate, obvious thing. It literally took 2 days of me being off base for me to realize, like, man, I don't think I've seen anyone else that looks like me yet. You get received really well by a lot of people, because I think there's a lot of well-intentioned people here in Spokane, but then, there's some of those, underlying microaggressions, we like to call them, that happen on a day-to-day basis also. But once I really started to get really involved in Spokane, I was still in the military, but I was transitioning out, I was on the school board. I made the conscious decision to just be my true, authentic self. you know, not try to dress myself up a certain way or act a certain way to assimilate into the dominant mainstream culture that exists here in Spokane, and just be me, you know, and so with that, you know, I have to be honest, it is uncomfortable. You know, a lot of those rooms that I walked into, I was the only black person there. I was oftentimes the youngest person, and I would dress different than everybody else. You know, I speak different, I talk different. You know, everything about me was so drastically different. Internally, I was always second guessing it.
Hi, I'm MALEEHA KAMAL. I'm a morning reporter at KREM 2 News. Let's talk. Specifically, I remember the most vivid experience I've had was after 9/11. I actually didn't go to school on 9/11. And my mom, you know, she was busy watching the news like many people were. And she didn't think it was safe to take me to school. And I remember going to school the next day, and you know, several kids had teased me thinking that because I was Arab, that had a heads up and knew about the terrorist attacks, and that's why I didn't go to school that day. And that was my first experience with racism. I remember as a kid, my mom used to read me this Martin Luther King kids book about racism. And I just remember thinking, I can't believe that there are people like that in this world. But I had never experienced it as a kid. And when I grew up and I had to experience that, it just all made sense. And my mom was trying to prepare me. When you have to deal with people who don't accept you because of who you are, you can't help who you are.
Now we still have more people to hear from, including KREM 2's Tim Pham, and him talking about his experiences living around the Inland Northwest.
Thanks for staying with us for this Let's Talk special. This series is about personal experiences and learning more about each other.
So let's spend the next few minutes hearing from our own Tim Pham, as well as Reverend James Watkins, who was born and raised in Spokane.
I am super proud of my Vietnamese and Chinese heritage, and I think I've become more proud because of a lot of these different things that I've been through. I'm Tim Pham, morning anchor on Up with KREM. Let's talk. When I was growing up in Seattle, it's just super diverse. My family's super diverse, and so the idea of like racism and like hate, I never really felt that growing up. There are several moments, I would say, towards adulthood that I kind of realized that, oh yeah, people don't see me the same. And I think for me, the biggest moment was in college. I was on the men's rowing team. And it's not a really diverse sport, but I got into it and I loved it. It was at the end of the season, like we did a group activity and we all sat in a circle, and our coach handed out blank pieces of paper, and she asked us to write one thing that describes that person. You know, we would write things like, you're funny, you're awesome, you're cool, you know, so positive. And I got mine back, and there wasn't anything that really stood out. It was like, he's kind and he's quiet. But then there was this one that really stood out to me, and it just said that you're brown. And that's when I really knew that I was like, wow, these people don't see me the same. Just a couple of months ago, we were having a celebration for a fellow coworker here, and everyone was gathering, and I was driving downtown and there was some jaywalkers. And of course, I'm like, there's jaywalkers downtown all the time, so I'm just like, I slowed down, and I wasn't gonna hit him, but I like slowed down, and all of them kind of like surrounded my truck and started yelling at me and cursing at me. And I was like, I just rolled down my window. I was like, I'm sorry, like I was slowing down so you could cross the street. And that's when they threw their food inside my truck and at me and said, "Go eat your effing rice." And that was really hard because I had to then go to this party with all my coworkers, and I just remember the room was silent. And I wanted to go home, but I just felt like I should be around other people. I think for future generations, I think everyone just wants to be accepted, you know, no matter what you look like, what you believe in. And I think in 20 years down the road, I think we all just need to do better about just like accepting people for who they are and what they do and not what they look like or what their background is.
My name is Pastor James Watkins of the New Hope Baptist Church. Let's talk. Probably the most special moments of one of my friends was at one of the guys I played football with, played basketball with, all these different things, told me I couldn't come to his house because his dad didn't like black people. And so when he had a birthday party, everybody got invited except me. And so one of my closest friends still to this day decided, and his father decided, if I wasn't welcome, then either was he. And so it made the experience bearable, but no less, not very, very less painful. When I was at North Idaho in the early 90s, we had the Aryan Nation compound 10 miles before, or less than 10 miles from where I went to school. We had the whole Ruby Ridge incident, which drew like-thinking people all across the nation who flooded North Idaho. It was somewhat of a dangerous time, and so at that time, intolerance was real high. There was a lot of different issues, and it was very difficult. I think that a lot of the things that I saw in Spokane, and even the racism was pretty subtle. When I went there, it was more overt, and it was there were some times that people don't believe it, but there were times I know my mom didn't want me out there. You know, she feared for my safety.
We still have more people to hear from, including KREM 2's Spokane Pride president, ESTEBAN HEREVIA, on his story of finding acceptance within his family. We'll be right back. Thanks for staying with us for this special edition of KREM 2 News. For the past few months, we've been sharing personal stories of people here in the Inland Northwest through our Let's Talk series.
Now, during different heritage months, we wanted to go beyond reflecting on history. And while that's important, so are the stories of the people who are living here now.
So here is a collection of some of those conversations we've had.
It has been a very interesting experience navigating my own cultural identity against my religious beliefs, and maybe not my religious beliefs, but the religious beliefs of my family. My name is Esteban Herevia. My pronouns are he, him, his. I'm the president and CEO of Spokane Pride, and let's talk. I first came out when I was 15, and I actually told my parents, I think I might be gay. That's the language that I used. It did not go well. And I want to preface this by saying that my parents and I, our relationship is strong now. They are my biggest champions. Everything that you would want in a parent-child relationship, I have now as an adult, and I cannot be more grateful. But at the time, they didn't know what to do. And the only expression and the only way that my dad could choose to respond in that moment when I came out was violence. He beat me until I was unconscious. My mom had to basically drag my body into the house to keep me safe. And from that point on, I realized that I was no longer safe in with the family in the house. Yeah, basically I was homeless after that point. And so we separated. I was away from them for about 7 years. My dad and I didn't speak again until I was 23.
Hello, my name is Ping Ping. I'm a commissioner for Washington State's Commission on Asian and Pacific American Affairs. Let's talk. The occasions making me uncomfortable or unwelcome, more was happening in the workplace. Because I teach sociology, it's a critical thinking subject matter. So when I use the critical lens to view the society, some students will just kind of say, if you don't like it here, why don't you go back to China, you know, and things like that. Like the anti-Asian sentiments or anti-Asian hate is always there. Just the pandemic, the COVID-19 kind of bring it from the maybe under the water to the surface more.
My name's Janelle Finch. I'm a reporter for KREM 2. Let's talk. Like I said, I'm really, really proud of what I do every day. Because there aren't enough people who look like me who are doing the things that I'm doing. But not everybody celebrates that and what that really means. Every day, as a TV personality, you're being judged by your audience. Not every job has that same level of exposure. So in one of my recruitment meetings, I spoke with a recruiter and he said to me, I pretty much couldn't pay attention to your reel because your hair kept changing too much. So I couldn't pay attention to what you were saying. And you're just like, what? So in that first minute that he told me that, it's just kind of like, okay, so then the meeting is over, essentially, because you're just telling me you didn't hear anything I was saying because my hair changed too much. It's really, really hard when you're proud of your job, you're proud to be doing the work that you do, you're proud to be a pillar in the community, be somebody that Black people in the community can look up to and see themselves on TV. And you wait on people to have a problem with it because you just know somebody will.
Now, after the break, we're continuing these conversations, and we'll hear from City Council member Betsy Wilkerson on her experiences dealing with adversity. We'll be right back.
Thanks for staying with us for this special edition of KREM 2 News.
Now, for the past few months, we've been sharing personal stories of people here in the Inland Northwest through our Let's Talk series. So to end things this evening, we wanted to share with you our conversation with Councilmember Betsy Wilkerson. She's only the second Black person to ever serve as a Spokane City Council member.
Let's listen, learn, and engage.
Being Black is actually powerful. We as a culture and me have taken something that other people might see as a deficiency, and I count it as a strength because it is who I am and all that has fed into that to get me and make me who I am today. I'm Betsy Wilkerson, City Council, District 2, Position 2. Let's talk. My mom brought us here from Mississippi in 1963 on the train across country with her 4 children. So I was very young, but growing up here in Spokane for me, we had a very close-knit Black community. So in many ways, I grew up in a bubble in Spokane. I grew up in the Black bubble. So I was in high school at Lewis and Clark. I played the flute. I no longer play the flute, but back then I was first chair flute. And in those days, the first chair flute always got to be the drum major in the Lilac Parade. So I was all excited about being the drum major. And that year, the band director picked the second chair flute to be the drum major because she was white. And it's at that moment that it hit me. It's like, so what's different this year than all the other years? And I know it's kind of a silly thing now, but back then, that was so hurtful to me, and it was the first real experience of racism. It was my awareness moment. Again, because I had lived in this very protected black bubble in my community, and then to have that happen, I was a little bit oblivious, you know, because again, we don't know what we don't know, and we didn't talk about racism. Not, at least the old folks didn't talk to the young folks about racism. But yeah, from that point on, I started looking at everything differently. You know, the responsibility I really feel on council is that leadership and that role modeling. And I've said it before, I did this because my grandkids thought it was a pretty cool thing to do. But I wanted them to be able to see themselves in places that they have not traditionally seen themselves. I cannot tell you how empowering that is and how humbling at the same time to have to be in that space, because it is a serious responsibility. And I don't want to make any missteps that would hinder or be a barrier for any other person of color coming behind me.
Well, we want to thank you for spending this half hour with us, listening to the diverse voices from around the Inland Northwest.
If you would like to watch extended versions of any of these conversations you've seen, you can text the word TALK to the number 509-448-2000, and we'll send a link right to your phone.